amazing, beautiful human. I am so glad you are here for another episode. And today I have guest Cassandra Love Lambert with me, and she is the visionary behind See Love. She is a trauma-trained somatic transformational coach, and she is the best-selling author. She's a TV host and an artist, and she is fully certified in clinical EFT, Brainspotting, and Somatic Attachment Therapy. Cassandra is a beacon of hope and transformation for women seeking healing and empowerment. She is full of life. We had such a great conversation, and I'm so excited for you to listen in and hear what we have said in this conversation. And I want you to know that she has an upcoming book called Into the Light, Becoming My Own Hero. And she also is the host of her own podcast as well. You guys, I hope you enjoy this one. Here we go.
All right, Cassandra, thank you for joining me today on the Happy Whole You podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here to spread wisdom and help the ladies
Yes,
in their bodies. Yes.
we all need a little help. That's for sure. Um, could you share with the audience? I read a little bit about your bio, but share with everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got to the place where you're at right now.
Yeah. So I grew up in a household that was very chaotic, a lot of dysfunction, single mom house, lots of abuse. And I also witnessed my mom in and out of abusive relationships, multiple. And one of the abusers sexually abused me from the age of 5 to 8. So there's just a lot of abuse and childhood trauma. And it really colored the way that I saw myself, the world, felt unsafe. And as I got older, the relationship between me and my mom changed to she's more avoidant attached. So she wasn't like that lovey-dovey, encouraging, give you praise mom, it was constantly picking me apart, highly critical. So I always just felt like nothing I did was enough. I wasn't good enough. Constantly was getting honor roll, I was decorating my walls with, awards, to get that, love and affection, and she just wasn't that way, it was I was, constantly chasing love or, to be validated, and it just wasn't happening. And
Mm.
so as I got older, she also started being kind of interesting, competitive for attention from men because she was in a marriage where she was happy at first and they were all lovey-dovey, but then he was ignoring her completely. So she went through this whole thing where she was doing everything to get attention from men, even if they were my age and my boyfriends. So it
Well,
created this weird dynamic there as well. And then I ended up, you know, getting in and out of abusive relationships as well. And I just felt like I could never escape these patterns or this hell that I was born into. And it lasted a really long time, and some of those relationships were really bad, and I don't even know how I made it through some of these moments in my life. I actually wrote my book, and it came out in February, and, sitting down to write this book, I was like, "Oh my god, this is so hard to write," and, time is just squishing all these things together. It's how do I articulate this clearly? But it wasn't until my 30s when I had my daughter um, that my life really began to actually change in a way that lasted. I started my healing journey in my 20s, trying everything. It started with Tony Robbins, seeing those infomercials and doing all the personal development, mindset work, business seminars and workshops, even before I had a business and, therapy, I was doing all these things, and then I got a little woo-woo too towards the end there in the late 20s, Reiki and energy work and shamans and medicine circles, and when I had my daughter, though, what was really fascinating because I already had, a decade of healing under my belt. When I had her, it was as if I had done nothing.
mhm.
It was as if I was starting over in my healing journey. I was just bombarded and flooded with all of this past trauma that wasn't actually resolved. It was all these pretty band-aids on top. And it really put me in this hard place. Oh my God, how am I going to protect this beautiful being when I've never felt safe here? And like all my greatest fears were born when she was born. And that's actually what led me to healing my relationship with a higher power because that was very severed. I had a lot of resentment there. Like if you're a higher power, why would you allow me as a child to go through all these like horrific nightmarish things?
Yeah.
And as I healed that relationship, it's an interesting journey because you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. This feels awkward, right? But as I healed it, it led me to somatic work, and that's where I actually witnessed myself things shifting legitimately and staying. And then I felt so convicted. I was like, "Oh my god, I have to help other people in this way because like, I tried so many things and I felt like I was broken and nothing was working, and, like, if I find something that works, I have to share it and I have to help others the same way."
Yeah. Wow, that's an incredible story. I know it's a lot, a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It
I
is.
mean, it's amazing the gifts that our children give us when they're born. Yeah, I mean, I can relate 1,000% to what you just shared. Can you go back though to the somatic work for people that are listening? They're like, "What?" I like maybe they've heard that word, but they're like, "What does that even mean?" Can you share with them what that is?
Yeah, I like to share things very simply too, because it's like, we don't need to make it all complicated. But really, like, what we go through in life, it, like, lives in our body. It lives in our nervous system, really. And a way to really understand that really simply is, like, if you think of a past memory of an event that was, like, traumatic or, like, scary or gave you fear or hurt your feelings really, really bad. If you think of that memory and you still feel these sensations in your body, like maybe you still feel the hurt in your heart, or maybe your tummy starts getting in knots, or maybe your head starts to hurt, that means that that event that you went through is still living in your body, and no amount of talking about it is gonna actually release it from your nervous system or your organs or your body or your tissues, and that is where somatic work comes into play because it actually allows you to release it from your body to where a memory can fully process, so then the next time you think of it, it's not doing anything in here. Like, it's almost as if you're watching it on, like, a screen at a movie theater. There's distance there. Like, "Oh, yeah, it happened, but I'm not living in it still in my body."
Yeah. And so how does one release that, like, with the work? Like, are they breath work? What are they doing to help, create that distance?
Yeah, so, there's quite a few different somatic practices, right? And everyone's different. I think everybody's healing journey is like a snowflake, so it's, like, trying to find that right combination.
Yeah. I love how you say that, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, we're all unique, right? And so the same thing comes true, like, with the healing journey, it's like you have this, like, combination lock that you're trying to figure out, like, what works for you, and I like to say that too because people hold shame, like, "Well, that worked for them, why isn't it working out?
Right.
Like, what's wrong with me?" And that's not what it is, it's just you need to find your combination, and try different things. So there's a lot of somatic modalities, right? So you got to find the one that's good for you, that works for you. Breath work is an avenue that some people really love, right? Personally, I didn't find the full transformation with breath work. I find it useful for self-soothing or self-regulation in moments where like I might have anxiety or panic or feel ungrounded. But one of my favorite somatic modalities that has helped me specifically with trauma is evidence-based EFT tapping, and EFT is emotional freedom techniques.
Mhm.
And that's actually one of the ones I'm certified in because, like, I believe in it so much. They have tons of gentle techniques specific for trauma so that you support someone through it gently so that they're not, like, getting re-traumatized. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of women going to talk therapy and, like, feeling worse after
Oh,
a
yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
than
Yeah.
they did before, and then they, like, hit this plateau, like, "I don't know why I'm even going to this anymore, like, I don't feel anything's changing, I feel like I'm talking about the same stuff over and over again, but nothing's actually shifting," right?
And then I feel too like I found that some clients, um that they feel like something's wrong with them because 'cause they're like, I've been seeing a counselor for 3 years now, and, like and so it's and, counseling and there's some really great counselors out there, but I do like, research is showing that when we re-talk about our traumatic events, it actually re-injures us inside, so I think that there's a good balance there, and I love how you say, like, everybody's a snowflake because we each get to find our own way of healing, and it can look very differently for a lot of people, but I think also it goes back to we're trained because insurance pays for counseling. This is that whole medical industry in America that, we're very bombarded with that if your insurance doesn't cover it, then, "Oh, I can't do it." There's that mindset. There's also, well, you just go see a counselor and you call that 1-800 number on the back of your insurance card, and so some people just aren't that's why I love that we're talking about this because some people they just don't know, and I think people do the best they can with the knowledge that they have, and so that's why I love having conversations like this because there's EFT, there's breath work, there is, theta therapy, bioenergetics, there's so many different things, so, yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this, so yeah, keep going.
I love that you brought up that too, because it's also very frustrating because you're very limited if you go through your insurance.
Mhm.
Like, I remember attempting to go through insurance myself, and I was just like, "They don't have the unicorn I need."
Yeah.
None of these practitioners they have on their roster do brain spotting. They don't do somatic work. It's, like, super, like, old school, healing that has it helps people get to the next level. So, talk therapy has a place, right, in the healing realm, right? But it's not all of it.
Mhm, mhm,
You're gonna come to a point where you're gonna have to do the somatic work and address what's going on in the body. And talking, right? When you talk about a problem, it's just like venting, right? When you're talking about it, those neural pathways in the brain are lighting up that are connected to whatever that is. And then you're feeling the sensations in your body connected to that. So all you're doing is reinforcing, reinforcing, reinforcing. And that's where yeah, it makes it stronger, right? So it's actually doing the opposite.
yes.
One quick way to just kinda shift that even a tiny bit, and I know you love giving people something they can implement now, is the next time you do have the urge to vent or complain or whatever, just add a little bit of tapping while you're doing it, and it will actually help change the situation and open up a new possibility because 'cause you're regulating your nervous system at the same time. You're cutting off the signal to your amygdala, so you stop your body and brain from pumping out cortisol and adrenaline, which is so what like, there's so much to say here, but, like, these things we're like cocktails, like, we're lighting up all these, like, chemical cocktails in our body, and we get addicted to this, right?
Oh, yes.
Like, if you're like a high functioning, high anxiety person, right? Like, you're used to living your life that way. And like, if all of a sudden you didn't have that, you would be like kind of craving it because you're just used to it. So you might create something to create that like anxiety in your life or chaos. We get addicted to these chemicals in our bodies from like the things that we've gone through. And we'll create situations to have that kind of experience to keep feeling those kind of chemicals and sensations. So it really is a transformative journey to shift all of this.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the body and the brain are so powerful, and if we just let the brain run wild, our body is going to show up in a not so nice way, but it actually is a nice way because anytime I always say, whenever the body is giving you making you feel anxious or indigestion or pain in the hip or whatever, this is the body's way of signaling to you your environment is not okay. You must make a change. And if we choose to keep suppressing it, we will create more dis-ease in the body.
Yeah. Louder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
my
true, and that's actually another piece too is, like, coming home to your body. A lot of women are living in their heads, they're ruminating, they're just up here all the time, and it's because the moment they try to, like, even go into their body, there's a lot of pain there, or there's a lot of messages they've been ignoring, and when you start to listen to this, it is gonna call for change.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it was, Michael Singer, one of the authors I really love. I think he said something along the lines of like the real win in life is to be okay inside no matter what's going on outside of you. And
Yeah.
it's that inner peace that we all are born with and we all deserve. And and it's not attaching meaning to the outside world of things happening. And when we attach meaning and emotion, that's when we create the physical chemistry. Because, like you said, like that brain is creating all these chemicals.
Mhm.
And yeah, like I think Dr. Daniel Amen always says, the brain is the strongest pharmacy on planet Earth. So,
Sure.
you're always making a cocktail.
You are always thinking, yeah, well, and that's also why I like EFT tapping because it helps you shift that cocktail,
Yeah.
well, and adrenaline to, like, more dopamine, oxytocin,
Yes.
so we're calm.
Yes. Yes.
A good workout, right? We release those, like, good endorphins when we do a workout. So, same thing with, like, EFT tapping. It helps shift the cocktail in your body so you feel differently and you feel more relaxed.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who, they know that something's off inside? Maybe they've talked to a counselor. They're like, "Yeah, I have trauma." I mean, nobody gets through this life without trauma. We all have it. But what would you say for them to start with, to start really discovering the connection with their body versus running from it? Is there anything they can do at home or, um, some practice that they can just go to right away?
Mhm. That's a really great question because that could be a really scary journey. And so I personally like the idea of starting to implement EFT tapping because it's a more gentle way to visit internal. Because sometimes if you have never done it before, like gone internal or whatever. If you do the breath work, it could probably connect you to some really strong things really quickly. And if you don't have someone there holding space with you, that could be traumatic. Which is again why I go back to the EFT tapping because you're regulating at the same time. You're just tapping on your meridians, so top of the head, front of your eyebrows, side of the eye, under your nose, your chin, live right under your collarbone where it's like the soft spot, and then under your arm. If you just like set a timer for 5 minutes,
Mhm.
put on some really great music. I personally like bilateral sounds, right? Because it oscillates. And you just close your eyes and do this for 5 minutes. You're going to begin to start to feel a shift and kind of get more in your body in a gentle way. Um, Once you're a little bit more, used to connecting to your body and just maybe after you do that tapping, you kind of close your eyes and you, like, take your awareness from the top of your head and just slowly go through your body and just notice what's going on in there. Like, "Oh, wow, I have tightness in my shoulders. Oh, wow, I feel this, like, stiffness in my hips," right? You just, like, little by little, just visiting and just noticing maybe what you're feeling inside. Um, I think that's a great first step that wouldn't be too overwhelming for someone.
So when they're noticing, they're just noticing, they're not judging, they're not
Have
saying,
to do
"Oh, this is there because," we're just noticing that it's there.
Mhm, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And I think tapping is really a great thing. Some of the stuff in energy medicine when I give my clients I call it their energy routine.
Mhm.
So they'll do like stomach meridian under the eyes, the K27 on the chest, and we'll do some I mean it's tapping, not EFT, but it does it like I think because it gives you that focal point and
Mhm.
so you have to go to that prefrontal cortex, the executive thinking, to be very present with where you're tapping that, pulls you out of that emotional brain, and that's the power. I mean, that's so powerful because most people it's like during COVID, most people were living in their emotional brain. So they were making crazy decisions, being more reactive to the world, commenting on social media, relationships were falling apart. I mean, and if we all look back at how ridiculous it was, we can look back from hopefully more of that prefrontal cortex and use logic and like what happened. Like it was such a brainwashing experiment that put everyone in their emotional brain. And when people go to their emotional brain, it can be scary.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing this up 100% 'cause, oh, I love this so much. So, that is the thing, that is the key right there is being able to be in your power means, being able to be responsive versus reactive, and when you are reactive, you're going to, like, your default settings, right? It's like survival, like,
Yeah.
might be how you coped since you were 5, and we all know, like, a 5-year-old isn't gonna make the best decision for the 40-year-old self, right?
Right.
And that's also why I like tapping because as you tap, it cuts off that signal to the emotional fight or flight part of the brain, and it kicks on your vagus nerve. And then also, as it's doing that, and as the intensity goes down, the reactivity, your thinking brain can then come back online, so you can make those better choices that are more aligned, that are more rational. But when you are in that distress moment, this is how fights happen in couples too, that just like spiral out of control. Because person's reactive and then the other person gets reactive. Nothing can get solved when you guys are both in this state, right? Even
Yeah.
or at work, right? Like no solution is coming out of that. Just more and more chaos. So the key with that is to pause and go, regulate yourself so your thinking brains can come back online and then you can revisit whatever that situation was.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so good. But yeah, it starts with that inner work. And I think to we need to another piece of this is getting out of the blame game, the victim. Yeah, it's everyone else's fault of how your life has unfolded. Um, and and I'm just speaking for myself. Like when I actually was like, you know what, my life has happened because of all my choices. When I took full responsibility of even the unfortunate things that happened for me, which I used to say happened to me. Um, when I started to just own up to like, yep, that happened, and this is the positive outcome of that happening to me because that gave me this superpower. And I just started to let go of blaming my parents and blaming that guy and blaming my job and blaming the economy. And like, it is so freaking freeing. It's like, you know what? My life is no one else's fault. And I get to choose how I show up, how I respond, or how I react. And catching myself even in those moments when I always say it's flying off the handlebars, like catching myself and then like I'm like, "Oh, wow, okay, that was a little extreme." Like, and I just laugh at myself versus being like the other day, like my daughter, I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're late for this thing," because she told me the time had changed and I was like, I really knew that it was at a specific time for her practice. And then she calls me, she's like, "Oh, no, mom, it's 7 to 9." And so then I continued to stay at work and work when I knew that it had changed, but then I thought for a moment, "Oh, no, it changed back." And then I'm upset with her, and then I'm like, "You," like, I'm laughing at myself because 'cause I'm like, "You know what the real issue is? The real issue is sometimes I don't feel like I'm a good mom because I work so much." And that was, like, the root of it, and then I started, like, we're on our way driving there, and I was like, "Garrity, like, no, remember it got sw," and I'm, like, trying to tell a 12 year blame this on a 12-year-old when really it was my stuff, and I had to, like, take a deep breath. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Garrity, I'm sorry, I really flew off the handlebars there." Like, literally, this was just the other day.
Love that too, especially with kids taking ownership is so huge.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You just peace because you don't have to be perfect mom or perfect parent, but owning your shit is so powerful for them to experience and witness because it teaches them to own their shit too.
Yes. Oh
And
my gosh.
they can fuck up and that they can clean up after. Like, it's so powerful to do that with kids.
Yeah, it really is. So it's just like, it's just wild how, like, no matter how much work we do, we can still find ourselves in moments
But
where
being human, it's the human experience.
I was just, oh yeah, totally. Cause it is. It's like those past reactions come up and then, but anyways, it's yeah, the work is very important. But I do think that just always owning our stuff, and then I think the second piece too is, like, having integrity, doing what we say we're gonna do. Um, those 2 things, if we can show up in life and do those 2 things, I feel like we will start finding ourselves stepping more into our power and not being as reactive to the outside world because like we're owning our stuff and then we're doing what we say we're going to do. So that helps us create confidence and build trust within ourselves. Um, and no one can stop a confident, secure woman. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, and the other part too is just increasing your capacity to hold more, be with more. Right.
Mhm.
That also helps with the resilience piece because nobody gets a free pass in this life from
Right.
crisis or a curveball, right?
Yeah.
Those are like the tests usually to the next level is like something crazy is about to happen or like when everything's falling apart, right? And there's chaos all around. Can you actually be the eye of the storm or are you going to get like swept into the chaos, right? And a great example of that was during COVID, right? Like a lot of people got swept up into the chaos.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of that.
The next COVID or experience like that, are you gonna be able to be the eye of the storm, or are you gonna get swept up in that again? And doing this kind of work definitely supports you and sets you up for in the future when something like that comes along, you'll be more like, "Nope, I'm solid."
Yeah. Yeah. 1000%. Okay, so I wanted you to share a little bit if you're open to it. So when you had your daughter and all these things started coming back up, you're like, shoot, I thought I already did the work, right? I mean, because that's just how life goes. There's always
Yeah.
more here.
Yeah.
Um, what with that, was there any specific things that you were doing to like help work through that time?
Yeah, so, that time was so hard, I gotta tell you, because like, the way I became a mom too was not the dream, okay? It was not the dream. Um, it was everything that I didn't want to happen, right? So, I was starting my life over from scratch, single mom, had to move back to my mom's house, and it was so metaphorical too, because like, I'm living in my mom's house, their house was in the middle of remodel, so concrete floors, stripped walls, right? So, like, apparent that I'm starting over from scratch, I'm like, "Oh my god," everywhere I look, it's just like if I felt like a mess, this environment I'm in looks like a mess, my bags of stuff are around me, here I am pregnant, baby on the way, what the heck am I supposed to do with all this? It was very overwhelming. I had no plan. I had 0 plan. And this is where, like, I had a nudge, like, "Oh, why don't you go ask this person if you can set up at their event to do art?" So I was an artist for 10 years, actually, that was the first business, right, until COVID came, and then pivot, right? And I the lady said yes, so I'm super pregnant, thought this was just a way to make some money while I have a baby on the way, and it grew into this 10-year successful business, right? So while that's happening, um the dynamics at the house with my mom returned because, of course, they've never been transformed. The family's never healed, right? So I'm finding myself feeling like a teenager again, even though I'm like 30 with my mom in her house. And it was like the worst feeling and experience ever. I felt trapped, all my triggers are coming up. I was like, I don't want us to fight or argue. And here we are fighting and arguing. Here she is being domineering and controlling. And like, it was a mess. And this is what led me to like, well, I tried so many avenues of healing, like, okay, let's try this like higher power thing, right? So I started like kind of like looking at scripture a little bit. I got into this entrepreneurship program with other women called Shield Maiden. And interesting enough, the coach was a man and he was a father. And so that was actually really healing for me because it was like father figure, like a real solid father figure for me. And everyone in that program was connected to God. So, like, kinda like iron sharpens iron, just being in this, like, environment where they bring up God and they bring up higher power and, like, faith and all this stuff kinda, like, was rubbing off on me. And then I ended up at this school that helped me connect to Creator more through meditation. And also it helped me learn how to own my energetic field because 'cause I'm a sensitive soul and kinda like a magnet, empath, whatever, like, I can attract both great and not great, and stuff was just constantly in my space. People's energy, like, I felt weighed down a lot, so I had to learn how to, like, "Nope, you don't get to take up space in my field." so that I could return to myself and my own energy. And that actually, the practices, the meditation, the clearing constantly, the grounding constantly, the protecting myself constantly, the bringing creator into my space constantly, just really helped me move forward to the point where we left my mom's house, which was like a whole process of detox. And then I was guided to EFT tapping because of a friend.
Mm.
That was the first modality that I really, like, latched onto, and I felt really silly at first. I'm like, "Where you want me to what? You want me to tap weights and say these things and what? This is so weird." But as I felt better, I was like, "I don't care. Imma do it anyways."
Yeah.
And I find that a lot of people, like, kinda get turned off, like, "You want me to what? You want me to tap on my face and do this stuff?" But when it works, it works.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Enough said. Yeah.
Yeah, even my sister. So my sister was the most resistant, right? Because she's super Christian, and she knew when I went through my woo-woo stage, she was like, I'm not having that, don't give me any of these crystals, don't give me none of this," right? So, she was very, like, resistant to the EFT tapping, and, she lost her dog last year, and she finally was open to tapping with me, and she was amazed by it. She was like, "Oh my god, I should have listened to you sooner." It really helped her, and she was even curious about getting certified because of it.
Oh, wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. Oh, I think that's so great. We gotta remain open and not let fear close us off because, I mean, it can block so many different modalities and so many good things that are available to us.
Mhm.
And, it's working with other people that really is so beneficial. Because I know that, like, for me, there's been times that, I've been struggling and I retreat.
Mhm. Yep.
It's like there ain't no healing happening when you go retreat, except for when I take, like, my mom weekend, like, twice a year, and I get a nice hotel and go to the beach and I write. Now that's healing, but, like, retreating just to, like, be in avoidance, not good, not good. So, but anyways, well, thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with?
Mm. I just wanna leave the listeners with, it's possible to change your life. It's possible to be the eye of the storm. It doesn't matter where you started or what you've been through, like, I know for a fact because of my life experience where I felt trapped in hell and I felt like hell just followed me all the way through that you truly can transform it all. All of it can be alchemized.
Yeah, 1,000%. And where can everyone connect with you, Cassandra?
Yeah, I really like connecting with people on LinkedIn or Facebook, Cassandra with a C and two S's, Love Lambert, or Instagram at C_love_Lambert.
Awesome. And we'll put that all in the show notes for everybody who listened. Thank you so much for joining me today. And yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. Love what you're doing.
Thank you.